Welcome back to your Whiskey Word of the Week. We had a suggestion on Instagram to do bottled in bond, which I think is a great idea because even people who know the bottled in bond designation don't always necessarily understand what it means. So thanks to Chris on Instagram for the suggestion. Make sure you leave yours in the comments. So bottled in bond is our Whiskey Word of the Week this week. And basically what that means is that the whiskey has gone through a set of rigorous requirements in order to have that bottled in bond designation. Those requirements include that they have to be made by the same distiller at the same distillery. They have to be made in one season, and it has to be aged for a minimum of 4 years in a bonded warehouse. So if you ever go to a distillery and you see their rick houses that have bars on the windows, that means that's a bonded warehouse, which is under government supervision and is very closely monitored. And then once it's been aged for those 4 years, it has to go in the bottle at exactly 100 proof. No more, not less. If it's more or less, it doesn't have that bottled in bond designation. Now, one thing I found interesting is, why is this important? Why does this designation mean so much? Aside from just the rigorous control that distillers have over the process and the exact specifications that have to be met for it to be bottled in bond, this designation was essentially born as kind of an early version of a Consumer Protection Act, because whiskey, when it first was being distilled, could be made from anything: formaldehyde, glycerine. I think we took a tour in Louisville where people were talking about they would take bad whiskey, add like tobacco spit and chamber pot. Like, it was just this Wild West, uncontrolled, horrible for consumers version of the drink. So the bottled in bond designation was brought about to help control that process and make sure that consumers knew what they were getting and they knew that it was a good quality product. So that's kind of why it's so important. And that's seeing a resurgence in recent years. You're seeing a lot more bonded expressions, even from old distilleries that have been around for a long time and have their flagships. They're dabbling in this because it means so much to the consumer. It's not necessarily so much for the distillers as much as it is for the people drinking. So that was kind of a brief overview of bottled in bond. Again, thank you, Chris, for the suggestion. Make sure you leave yours in the comments, because we'll be back next week for another Whiskey Word of the Week. Cheers.